you to the webinar about the new financial information forms. As we said in the cover letter, after many years with the same financial reporting documents, we made wholesale changes in these forms, and we sent them to you, and you're on this webinar to hear more about it. We believe the new forms are more complete and convey the information that's important to us in a more comprehensive and logical manner. We expect that you will use these forms now, and that's spelled out again in the cover note, but for your next submission, anything ending June 30th and forever onward. So the transition is immediate, and we're trying to assist in that transition, which we know involves some work for you with this webinar. You are able to ask questions via chat box, and one of my colleagues will be telling us about those questions. And we're going to get started right away. It's going to be handled today by Jesse Tapia. Jesse is our accounting manager and spent several months with our grants unit developing these forms, and he's going to walk through some of them. A lot of them are very similar. But I hope that you either ask questions on the chat box or of your grant monitor in the days that follow. We will record one of the webinars. We're going to do it again tomorrow and again on Friday. We're going to put one of those on our website in recorded form, so you can go back and listen, or a colleague that you work with who might be on vacation can listen in. But that's it for me, and here's Jesse on the forms.
Hello, I'm Jesse. Thank you for attending. I hope this is informational and helpful. The chat box option, please type in your questions in there, and I will try to get to them as well as I can. But my main goal right now is to go through all the tabs in this report. The questions will be recorded, and if I can get to them afterwards, we will certainly answer as many as we can within our allotted time. But if we can't, as they're recorded, I will also answer them by email. So to start out, thank you again. To start out, this report is basically the same as your prior report, but the benefit that I saw with this was you can see the whole activity for the period of the grant. For example, I'll start with the first one, the first tab in this Excel report. It's the quarterly fiscal report, the one that it would be assume it's a year report with 4 quarters. So it's pretty basically it explains itself, if I may. What happens is I'll do an example, a sample budget. For instance, in personnel, if there's $2,000 in the budget for personnel. Maybe in travel you will have $1,000. Contractual, another $1,000. As you can see, this is $2,000 of a budget, and there's a calculation right here. It automatically calculates the $4,000. Obviously, up here you will fill in your relevant information. But supposing this is your budget, it's $4,000. Now, what you would do is fill in per quarter. For example, your first quarter, you would spend, for example, $500 right here. Okay. There. You can see that right here it populates all of a sudden. The expenses for the period is $500. Total expenses for the date to date is $500. And now the budget balance is $3,500. That's pretty self-explanatory. And over here on the right hand, year-to-date expense, $500. This part, this category that's the budget is $2,000. Now it remains at $1,500. And the budget remaining, as you can see right here, is $3,500. That should be pretty self-explanatory. So let me go ahead and fill in the whole year, for instance. Well, before I do that, I'm sorry. Before I do that, supposing you send this in for the first quarter. You've spent $500 so far. You send this in, and you've received maybe in row 21 right here, or where it says be filled out by grantee, you receive payments of $600. For instance, you would put that in, and when you send this report, also you would projected expenses for the next quarter, which would be the second. Right here, you would put in, for example, you're projecting you will spend $500 in contractual. You can see right here that it added it right away, $500, and then it projected expenses right there, $500. It populated it. So you placed in your $600 received year to date. Your expenditures have been $500. Now your cash balance is $100. Okay. So you're projecting expenses of $500, and this gets populated right here. But since you already have $100 cash balance, what this program calculates is what you need to meet expenses now and projected is $400. 500 minus 1 is $400. But here you have the option of here. You can, whatever you request, you can place that amount here. Right below it. It could be $400. It could be $300, whatever. And that's how you send this in. Obviously, then you have to sign underneath the prepare of the report and the approver, email and what have you. So that would be for the first quarter example. Let me do the whole year, for instance, here. An example type of expenditure period. Suppose in the second quarter you spent $500 here. Third quarter you spent $500 there. Fourth quarter spent another $500 there. So far you spent $2,000, and the budget remaining here is $2,000. So here, let me take this out of there. So your closeout expenses, if something happens afterwards, you still have a budget remaining of $1,000. So supposing your expenses happen to be $500 there. So budget remaining, you didn't spend all of it, you spent $2,500 of it, and you have a budget remaining of $1,500. So basically you would send that in, and by that time maybe you have received $1,700, for instance. So this does all the calculation for you. Expenditures year to date, payments received year to date, $1,700. You would place it. Is writing them down, and if you have a chance afterwards, I will certainly answer them all, or certainly after our time allotted for this period. Okay, let me go to the second tab. This is you see they're both in red, this one and this one. This is for 2-year grants. For 2-year grants, obviously it's quarters 1 through 4 and quarters 5 through 8. Let me do a kind of similar example for here. Personnel, it's $2,000. travel $500, contractual $1,500, and other costs maybe it's $1,000. You can see that the budget here is $5,000. Okay, so let me fill out this whole year. You spent $1,000 on the first quarter. Over here, you spent $500. This is, as you're filling it out, you can always see that you have what you have remaining for the budget. So if you have something like zero, you don't want to put any expenses there in equipment, for instance. So the third quarter, another $250 right there. And the fourth quarter, you spent $350. I'll make it even, $300. Okay, so far you have spent, where's my camera here? A total of $2,050. And over here, you can see that the budget remaining is $2,950. Okay, what happened here? You can see this budget right here. So then you would send this report in, and I'll show you what happens. It's $2,950. You go into the 2-year report 5 to 8, and it's already populated. So the budget is carried forward. Okay, then you would start. Then you would start again with the 5th quarter, and so on. $500. Just basically, just like the other one. Maybe you spend $100 a year. And your closeout expenses, maybe it's $250. So you can see that you spend $4,000 this total year-to-date expenses, and you have $1,000 left. So I would think that's pretty self-explanatory. And also here you can populate whatever payments you've received, and it would calculate here at the bottom. And this is the report that you would send in. Over here, this area, the monitors would fill in the required information, and then your fiscal report will get processed. While I'm doing this, let me also say, anytime you have any issues with this new report, you can always ask the monitors, and if they are not able to answer, they can ask me, and we'll obviously help assist, and we will get your any issues resolved. Okay, but I think this is pretty self-explanatory. The first one is a quarterly whole 1 year report, and the two next red ones tabs are years 1 and year 2 of the grant that has 8 quarters. Okay, when we go to the next one, sometimes there are grants that are monthly. I don't know that there's not that many, but there's a few. So I created actual report for that, and it's basically the same premise, except instead of quarters, like there's months, and it's the same thing again. Personnel. If you have $1,000, travel $1,000, and it works the same way on through what have you. So this gets all completely filled out, obviously, and if it was all completely filled out, and this is what it said at the end of the period, at the end of the 6 months, you see it's $2,000 budget remaining. That should be, I haven't looked at it yet, but in months 7 through 12, that should reflect it over here too. There you go. It gets pre-populated. So then you would begin, start again, adding your expenses on through the end. You would finish. After you filled out your closeout expenses, if this is the end of the period, send it in, and you will either, depending on how much money has received, you will either, this will be a positive number, which means you would be requesting that money back, or if it's negative, if you've received more than you have actually paid out, there would be no cash obviously required by you, but you would have to pay back your cash balance that you have. Okay. Okay. Let me go to and the match is basically the only difference in the match reports are that you see in the monthly you have this amount. It's actual money that's being expended and stuff. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, and stuff. Actual money, currency that you are being that's being transacted. In match, everybody knows match can be currency. It could be personnel putting in their own time, but this would be calculated also same way. Personnel, if your match budget is $500, the same thing happens. Just like the quarterly one over here, and the same way you fill it out throughout here, and you send it in together with your quarterly report. If your grant actually does require match, if not, there's no match in your report, in your agreement. Obviously, you don't send it. Okay. Just like the quarterly report, there's 1 and 2 year match agreements. This one's the same as the prior one. Match 2 year report, quarters 1 through 4. Match 2 year report, quarters 5 through 8. And it works the same way. Let me show you how it carries over. So you spent $1,100. So you have $4,900. It should be there. It is right there. It carried it over to the quarters 5 through 8. Then you would subsequently fill in these throughout the second year, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th quarter, and then the important closeout expenses that may have happened before the end of the 8th quarter, but which you haven't gotten all the documentation through yet. So that's what this would be for. This right here. Okay, and just like the quarterly expenses, there's that months 1 through 6. Match also has months 1 through 6 and 7 through 12 for all agreements that have monthly reporting requirements. Same way, 1 through 6. Again, I'm doing this so I can show you that the data does get carried over. There's 7,000. You spent 1,000 right there, 3,000 right there. So you have budget remaining is $3,000 right here. That should carry over into 1, 7 through 12. There it is right there. So let me tell you if at this time, let me say if sometime in the future, obviously, if your calculations get corrupted, if you do not know how to fix it, let us know, and we can prepare a new file that you can rework again. However, if there are some of you that are really good at Excel, if you can correct it yourselves, that'd even be even better. You can see the calculations up on top that are in there, right? Up here. That's what I have. Okay. And only a couple of more tabs. There's the income report. That used to be at the bottom half of the match report that everybody had. I just put it in a sheet by itself. This is for the income and received and expense quarterly report for all the agreements that have this requirement. You put in income received, what have you, $1,000 maybe, $1,000 right here too. Over here, you can expensed $500. Yeah, so you received $2,000, you've expensed $500. Your total project income year-to-date balance should be $1,500. Obviously, you would fill all these in. This would be only for the first quarter, what you're seeing right now, but for the whole year, you would add everything in here. Oh, okay, let me do that just example because I want to show you the next one. This is what you would, if you had all 4 quarters, then you would obviously send this in. So based on the what you see in front of you, you've received $2,800 right here, and you've expensed $700. So your year-to-date income balance should be $2,100. And let's see if that carries it over. This is the one you're seeing right now. This is for all grants that only have a 1-year income received and expended quarterly report requirement. However, if you have a 2-year one, you can go into the next tab, which is 5 through 8, quarters 5 through 8, and that should carry over this right here. Let's see if it does. Right there. Okay. Then you would continue on reporting quarters 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you would subsequently send that in. Again, let me stress, anytime there's any issues or questions or problems with the sheet, let us know, and we will, myself included, the monitors will do everything that we can to answer your concerns so that we can have a report that captures all the information for your benefit as well as for ours. Let me say that, let me go back to the beginning. The first critical report, the quarterly report. The reason this was, I think this is a more useful report is because you can see right in any one report all the activity for the year as opposed to going through several sheets of paper. And the benefit of it is obviously you have more information on one sheet, but you can also see patterns. How much did I use in the first quarter? Did I use less in the third quarter? And what have you. And that goes just as well for 2-year reports. You can see 2 years in 2 sheets as opposed to 2 years in 9 sheets. So that's basically, I think it's very self-explanatory, but let me stress, any questions, please, after this webinar is over, you have questions afterwards, let us know. But in the meantime, let me see if there are any questions in the chat room. I will ask my colleague Barbara.
You have 2 questions.
Okay.
One, when you were on the first tab, the question was, is this form for what is the past is entered in the federal funds form?
Was it entered in the federal funds form?
Yes.
You had federal funds form, I believe, and you had a state, right? They were both basically the same. If I remember, it just said either up here, it said federal or state. But
short answer is yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. It was used for both state and federal. But people used to. The question was this used for federal reports? Is what my colleague Barb is asking, and the answer is yes.
Federal and state.
Federal and state. And the next question?
The second question, is there a formal semi-annual report that needs to be completed in addition to the quarterly report?
The question is there a formal semi-annual report that needs to be completed in addition to these semi-annual reports? To these? No. No, there's no report that I am aware of, but that has to be submitted. You have the quarterly reports. Quarterly reports, which is this one right here. We send this on each subsequent quarter. Obviously, when you send in the third quarter, your second quarter and first quarter should be filled in. But I would think that when you send in your second quarter, that's your semi-annual report. Okay.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Are we signing these new reports electronically and submitting them in Excel spreadsheets or printing them out, signing them and putting them in PDF?
Well, they have to be signed. If you can have a way of electronically signing them, that would be.
Repeat the question.
The question was, are we signing these reports electronically or with the ink pen, basically, and then sending them in as PDFs? I think the way it's handled now, that's the way it's being sent in. Because
Which?
It's being sent in signed and sent in PDF, I believe. So yes, that's what you can do now. If you have a way of electronically signing them and then sending in as an Excel report, that's fine too, as long as they're signed one way or another. They have to be authorized signed by the preparer and signed by the approver. If there's any changes to this rule, we will let you know as soon as we know. But no, they have to be just like they are now. They have to be signed and sent in, and obviously they will be sent in as PDF files.
Okay.
Okay, there's no more questions, and it's 2:30, which I scheduled a little longer for this, but I think it's very self-explanatory. Another question? Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, our ICJIA grant period is September 1 through August 31st, which requires us to do 5 quarterly reports. How would we do our 5th report?
The question is some of the reports are from what did you say again, Barbara? September 1 through August 31st, which requires us to at times do 5 quarterly reports, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, what I would suggest is use the 2-year report. Fill in the 2-year report quarters 1 through 4, and then go to the 2nd year report 5 through 8. But obviously, you would just fill in the 5th quarter.
I don't think so. I think this is a grant that is only 12 months and has only 4 quarters. So I think the question is really, can a quarter end on November 30th? In other words, you have 4 quarters that don't end on the March, June, September, and December, and I think the answer is yes. If you go back to the 1-year form,
yeah,
you can just
right there.
Yeah, this quarter can end any day you want it to. Doesn't have to end on March 31st or June 30th. It could end on November 30th in their case. And then the 2nd quarter would end at the end of February. The 3rd quarter would end at the end of May, and the 4th quarter would end at the end of August. It's still a 1-year, 4-quarter report.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize if we were talking amongst ourselves over here, and if you didn't hear what I said before. That's if you have no other option, you can do that. But the 2-year reports. But if you have reports that started in, you said September and ends in August.
Correct.
Okay, you kind of what you would do is right here. The report period is from 9/30 through what would that be? 11?
No, 9/1.
Sorry.
9/1 through 11/30.
This would be 9/1 through
August 31st.
No, the 1st quarter.
It would be 3 months.
Yeah.
September, October, November. This is certainly an option because you would do the quarters will obviously be a little bit uneven, but your report starts in November. You could, this would be your first quarter. Second quarter would be 12/1 through February 28/17, and so on. You would still end with 12 months as of here, but your fourth quarter would be, I believe, June 1st through 8/31/17. That would be your fourth. This would be your fourth quarter. So you wouldn't necessarily have to do 5 months. You still have 4 full quarters for the year. Okay. Yes. Another question.
If there's no income or match for the awards, do you still have to sign and submit those reports to the bureau?
No. If there's no match or income reports, I think the match doesn't have a signature to begin with. The question was, if there's no match and no income, do we have to sign them? No. In the match tabs, there's no area in which a signature is required. So you don't have to send them in because there's no match. But if you did, you still would have to sign them. Okay. Income. And see what's the
There's no income, there's no need to send it in the report.
If there's no income, obviously you don't have to send it in, but you do have to, the income, you do have to prepare, sign the preparer and the approver. And over here is our area that we sign in. Yes.
Current quarters for our grant: September, October through December, January through March, April through June, and July to August. So do we now change our quarters?
No.
You can take it up with your grant line. I'm not aware of.
No, we don't.
Don't have 4 quarters with 3 months each. So.
No. Any specific type of questions that are other than regular quarterly months, if you could, I don't know how you worked it with your grant monitors before, but they should be the first line of questions, and we can certainly find a solution through them. But these reports that we're showing on the webinar now have the regular, just all years have four quarters, or 2 years have 8 quarters. 1 year have 12 months, or what have you. Yeah.
On the income received report,
yes.
What does the forfeiture and fees and other mean? How do we know what to grow our income is considered? And on the same report, is the income expended including the match as well? Let me repeat that. On the income received report, what does the forfeiture and fees and other mean? And how do we know what to grow our income is considered? And on the same report, is the income expended including the match as well?
In every grantee that has a income report that has to be submitted, not everybody is that required. I don't know how you're filling it out now, but the same way as you've been filling out in all these, they have the same titles, they have the same headings. Forfeiture, income received, expense, income expended, and what have you. You would fill the same numbers in the income as you did before, the same expenses that were spent as you did before. They're just in this type of format. And forfeiture is also in the previous income section of your reports. If you don't know, I don't know, but maybe you didn't have to fill them out before, but I would direct that to your grant monitors, and they would be able to let you know how they require it. But I just have all the categories already filled in. Okay, next question.
For the income sheet in the income received section, question, are you asking for the total agency income or only funds from ICJIA?
Again, the question was, are we asking for income for the agency or funds from ICJIA? I don't have the answer personally with that, but your grant monitors would let you know what they are expecting. I'm just putting a space in each one of these tabs so that you can actually enter your data as you did before. I'm just in a more readable format. I would direct that question also to your grant monitors. They'd be more knowledgeable about what they're requiring in each particular agreement that requires the income and expenditure reports. But it's a good question.
Oh, somebody wants us to repeat the question. They can't hear that.
The last question was about the income reports, expenditure reports, the last two tabs in the sheet. The question was, this last one, is the income that's to be reported, is income there received as an agency in total or only from ICJIA? I do not know the answer to that question. These reports and these formats are basically a better readable format than the previous one. But what is actually the income that's required, how your I would direct this question to your grant monitors. They'll be better able to know what's in their particular grants that they are monitoring to let you know what is required to populate these fields. Fees, income, expenditures, if it's from ICJIA or if it is from other agencies going to your agency. Please direct that to your monitors. That was the last question.
That's all I have.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your hard work in getting these completed. I've received several of these already, and it looks like it's doing their job. I can see at least several quarters in one sheet, and that's the purpose of it, to see more information on one sheet. So as I said before, any more questions, please send them in. Send them to your grant monitors, and we will actually have a solution for you as quickly as possible. So that's about it for today. Thank you again very much. We'll have another webinar again tomorrow and then again on Friday. So thank you very much.